is what? The premise of the question is, the purpose of life is to be a good moral person. So therefore, do you have to be observant in order to be a good moral person? But if the purpose of life is not to be a good moral person, meaning, not that we should not be a good moral person, but that's not the whole story. That's not the whole purpose. We were not created to be just to be good moral people. We were created to become in the image of God. And by doing that, draw ourselves close to God and become godly. And certainly a major part of that is being a good and moral person. Right? So then, once you understand that, then that's not the whole, then that's, the question is setting yourself up for failure either way, because it's not a focused question. It's not a correct, it's a misleading question. So, if we're viewing that, so what's the big deal if I turn on the light, I don't turn on the light? I'm a good moral person. But if we understand that we are actually a spiritual being combined with a physical being. Now, so we say, let God just forget about it. Let God just forgive it. Now, no one is bothered if they would hear, well, the following horrific scenario, but no one has a hashkafic philosophical problem with, we just heard crazy a few days ago that there was a beheading here in the United States, right?
In the U.S.?
Yes.
What kind
yeah.
of
Now, no one, as sickening and repulsive as everything is, no one is asking, well, why didn't God just make that person live, even though there was this horrific decapitation? Right? We understand that if that happens, the person's going to die. We might have questions, why would God allow it to get to that point? But we understand that, once that happened, the person's going to die. There's a certain physical mitzius, there's a physical reality. If that happens, the person's going to die. So we understand there's a physical reality. Now, there's also a spiritual reality that we are not able to observe and measure with our physical eyes. But a person in a spiritual sense can devastate our own spirituality. So therefore, we're going to say, well, the person did something, did a spiritual sin. Let's just God just forget about it. No, just forget about it means leaving that person in that debilitated or injured state that they've done to themselves. Therefore, there needs to be a spiritual healing. The problem is, or the challenge, I should say, is that the physical things we can understand and we see. Oh, there's physical damage, needs to be physical healing. We don't see the spiritual damage. But the first ashamnu is we have sinned against God and have devastated our own spirituality. Not only have we become guilty of sinning against God, we have brought spiritual desolation upon ourselves. Shamama, desolation. Perhaps we did not mean to rebel against God. We often sin intentionally for profit or enjoyment. Bagadnu, we have betrayed. Okay? So what does that mean? Oh, we have been ungrateful, disloyal. We have been ungrateful and traitorous, from bogey, traitor, to those who have helped us. We have betrayed our loved one. By violating mitzvot, we have been disloyal to God, who gives us life and sustenance. So all of a sudden, this list of words that, all of a sudden, they take on gazalnu, we have robbed.
It goes too fast.
Right? Okay, yeah, so the person needs to go. Now, I'm not a thief. I don't steal. Gazalnu, I've robbed. I don't think I've been a robber this year. In addition to taking and enjoying other people's property without payment, we have taken all sorts of things to which we are not entitled. We enjoy God's earth without blessing or obeying Him. We do not fulfill obligations to other people. We take advantage of other people's ignorance or trust. We rob people of their privacy. We rob the poor and defenseless of their dignity. Wow. I'm a robber. I'm a first-degree robber over here. All of a sudden, this is talking to me. Dibanu Dofi, we have carried tales, have been hypocritical. We have slandered God, questioning His justice and His kindness. We have discredited fellow human beings, speaking falsehood or publicizing their mistakes. We have been hypocritical, saying one thing, thinking another, speaking of people behind their backs. He'evinu, we have caused perversion. We have corrupted good people and good value system. By our words and deeds, we have influenced people to lower their standards of conduct, to change from idealists to cynics, from generous people to selfish ones. And by sinning habitually, we have transformed the derech yeshara, right? We discussed yeshurim before, straight way of life, into something crooked and perverse. And so on and so on. So I strongly urge, either beforehand, if he feels it goes too fast and you want to keep up with everybody beforehand, do this and take some notes and write into your machzor, or use this when it comes to this. Now, not only does it do it through that, it's only on page 854, 856, where we have the al-chet. It also goes through each of those. Right? Now, all of you have the luxury that I don't have. The chaz is not waiting for you. So you can take as much time as you like. Right? So, sometimes it becomes too much. So, as always, we need to gauge ourselves what will make it most meaningful. And that's what we go through, going back to our Shemona Esrei on 92, we go through all of those vidois, the Ashamnu and the Al-Chet starting on 94, 96. And then we have Elokai Achel Notzarti Eni Kedai, V'Achel Notzarti Ki'ilu Notzarti. Before the classic Elokai Nitzur, you always end with, we have this paragraph, before I was formed, I was unworthy, and now that I've been formed, as if I had not been formed. I am dust in my life, in my death, right? Like a vessel, may it be your will, that I not sin again, or what I've sinned before you, cleanse, labriyut, with your mercy, and not through suffering or illness, right? And just life, we always say life is such a gift. But let's look into that a step further. What did any of us do to deserve life?
Nothing.
Beforehand?
Maybe so, if you believe in Gilgul. I don't know.
Okay, so before that.
Probably not.
Right? Right?
Lucky.
None of us, by definition, we can't have done anything to deserve life if we have not yet been given life.
Yeah.
So life is really, it is such a gift. It is such borrowed time that we are given. Right? Before I was formed, I was unworthy. Right? What can I offer? How can I advocate for myself? Oh, I deserve, because of what? Right? We had nothing going in. Now we've been giving it. We've been given that life. And how well are we utilizing it? How fully are we utilizing it? It's a thought that really gets to our very core. To our very essence. And if this whole life is a freebie, so then it's not, well, why don't I have this? It's, why do I have life? Why do I have what I have? And that's what this paragraph is really focusing on. And then we conclude our Shemona Esrei with our usual ending paragraph, Elokai Nitzur Shoni Meira, right? Guard my tongue from evil, my lips from speaking deceitfully. When we finish our Shemona Esrei, we take 3 steps back, right? And then we say, we bow to the left. Oseh Shalom bin Ramav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. And then we say the last Yehi Ratzon, the Beit HaMikdash, the temple should be built, and receive our portion in Torah. Now, just with this, we'll end. Just a thought to share. Normally, we always first go to the right, and then to the left. Okay. Everything we always do, a mitzvah, we hold the kiddush, we always do things with our right hand. Why is that? Because in a Kabbalic sense, the right represents chesed, kindness. The left represents din, judgment, gevura. So therefore, we always start with the right. So why is it then that when we take our steps backwards from an Esrei, why do we start then and bow left? Why are we bowing to the left?
Judgment.
Huh?
Don't judge us too hard. Be kind.
Yeah, but we should start with chesed. We always want to lead with kindness. Let kindness be the basis of everything.
This is the Day of Atonement.
But we always do this by Shemona Esrei. Amidah is unique, as we discussed at the beginning of last week. Amidah is unique. What are we doing? Until then, in Shemona Esrei, we are talking about God. Come Shemona Esrei, it is the Shechina, the presence is before us. We are talking to God. So therefore, when we take that's why we're taking our steps back. We're taking steps back from God's presence. So we bow to our left. We are bowing to
Hashem's right.
Hashem's right. So we are approaching His kindness. We always do the right first, which is kindness first. It's exactly what we're doing. But here we're not this self-contained unit. We are communicating. We are connecting to God, and God's presence is in front of us. So therefore, we go to the right, our left, but to His right. Chesed, Gvura, etc.
And during regular Esrei, don't we start with left?
Yes, every Amidah, because Amidah is when we are talking directly to Hashem.
And then apparently we since it's Shabbos, we also daven page 100.
Yeah, are you saying always?
Yes.
Always?
Always Shemona Esrei. Oh, not just Yom Kippur. Always Shemona Esrei. That is Amidah, so if I wasn't clear. The Amidah is our 3 times a day, face time.
3 times.
Okay, that's our FaceTime.
And for women,
Right? We all appreciate FaceTime in our new world. Shemona Esrei is our FaceTime, and therefore we're bowing down to His right at the end. Yes, Chayv.
I just wanted to go back to a thought I didn't fully understand. When you said about the physical reality and the spiritual reality, the physical reality is somebody gets hurt and they need a healing. And the healing is the correction, correct? They fell down, they sprained their ankle.
Right. It's not a kindness. The person broke his leg to not set the foot and put on a cast.
Correct. Okay.
Just forget about it. Let's just let it go. That's
right.
not a kindness.
And the question really I have is the spiritual reality. So someone hurt somebody spiritually.
Or we hurt ourselves
We hurt
spiritually.
ourselves, but it's of a spiritual nature. It isn't a physical nature. And so then something happens to that person. They get ill, they die. Or
I don't know.
Whatever, something. But
What happens, that's not my realm. I don't know. And we can never look at a person and say, oh, this happened to that person. It must be because God's doing that. What I'm saying is, just like if someone fell and broke their leg,
Okay.
it's not a kindness to say, let's just forget about it and go on. Right? It's a disservice to that person to allow them to continue with a broken leg. So too, if a person, or the Hashamnu is, we've caused spiritual harm to ourselves. Right? That's how we view, and Aveira is spiritual harm. So it's not a kindness to say, all right, just let it go. It's a big, God, just forget about it. It's not a kindness. Whatever it will be, it needs to go through that healing process, that corrective process.
Okay, so with everything we do, there is a consequence, right? Whether we see it,
Correct.
reality, the physical, or we don't see it,
Correct.
spiritually. But there's a consequence to everything.
Correct.
Is that what the spiritual reality means? And we don't
Yes.
see it, but
Correct.
we know something's going on beyond what we can see.
Correct.
Of course, it could lead to judgmentalism, as we just mentioned.
Sorry?
It could lead to judgmentalism.
Correct, and that we can't-
absolutely,
and that we
say
can't go
that
to.
that's not such a good idea.
Yeah.
But I just want to understand. There's
Yeah.
so much we don't.
That's what I mentioned. Yafi Sevi sends she had to rush to Israel. Yeah. So Yossi's, well, they knew Yossi's mother passed away yesterday.
Oh, she did pass
Yeah.
away.
So any of you who could send an email or something to them.
Have an address for her?
I have an email address.
Yes, please.
Yeah. And the funeral is scheduled for tomorrow, for Wednesday in Israel.
On a lighter note, I talked to Debbie Schechter, and she says her regards and will be here next week.
Oh, good.
So,
Good.
And can I just say something what you said
Debbie
about...
Schechter sends her regards. I'll be here next week.
When you said about FaceTime, I just want to make a comment. I was with a whole bunch of kids, but there was a 13-year-old girl who made this amazing comment on Shabbos a few weeks ago. Because we do live in this time, especially with the teenagers, where everything is here now, Instagram, everything. And there was a bunch of kids, a bunch of teenagers, and they were all hanging out in the Shabbos, and they were playing a game or whatever, and everyone looked like great, and she goes, wait, just a second. And she kind of goes like this, and she goes like this, and she's like, pretends like she's snapping a picture. And she says, you know what I like is a 13-year-old. I swear, amazing girl. She said, you know what I like best about Shabbos? Is because I get to live in the moment. I don't have to send it right away to the whole world.
Oh, that's so cute.
I was like, oh my gosh, this little girl gets it. She's like, because there's no phones, there's no Instagram, there's no instant messaging. So in that moment, we all sat there, and she took this. She's like, I just want to take a mental image because I want to live in this moment.
Nice.
By the way, this is a sick girl. This is a girl who's very ill, and she gets it. And I thought, and that's so
And they've done a study. They actually measured this. That when you take a picture of something, you remember it less.
Less?
Yes. Because you're relying on the picture. So once you take a picture, your mind doesn't bother to retain those details because I don't need it. Right? You know, there's a certain amount of memory available. So the mind says, well, that's not dedicated to that. That's already been put into storage.
We're really given a gift of Shabbos to really put away those.
Yep.
Isn't Shabbos atonement for every week, and then Yom Kippur is for the entire year?
I'm not sure, Dov. I'm not sure if we say Shabbos is atonement for the week.
I did want to say something also nice. Rachel Asanipur had a little girl the other day.
Oh, Mazel Tov.
Rachel and Bobby, of course.
Well, yeah.
And they
Susie's
are the
daughter.
Rachel is
Susie
the daughter
Wyckoff's
of
daughter. Beautiful.
Susie and Andy Wyckoff, and all are involved.
Very nice.
Okay, let me wish everybody a Gemar Chatima Tova, and I hope if I've offended anybody, or not answered the question, or not taken the whatever it might be, either intentionally or not intentionally. Sometimes intentionally because we need to cover some ground, and sometimes not intentionally. So I hope all of you will forgive me, and may we all have a Gemar Chatima Tova for a wonderful, wonderful year
Thank you.
for all of us, and for Klal Yisrael, and for Hashem.
Yeah.
A Gemar Chatima Tova of Geula and Yeshua, of redemption.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Dov.
We don't forget Google.
Happy birthday to Marta, too. Thank you.
Yes, and once again, happy birthday tomorrow. Yeah, let me see.